Have you ever heard the sound of a door slamming shut from the inside? Not a door of wood and hinges, but a door of the human soul. For months, for years, you stood outside that door, knocking gently, then pleading, then pounding with all your might. You offered your love, your patience, your very heart on a platter, only to be met with silence, a distant glance, or the chilling sound of a deadbolt sliding into place. You gave everything, and it felt like you were pouring your entire being into a bottomless black hole. And then you did the unthinkable. You stopped, you turned around, you took that first, agonizing step away. And in the deafening silence of your absence, a seismic shockwave erupts on the other side of that door. Tonight, I'm not here to talk about your pain. I'm here to pull back the curtain and reveal the cataclysmic internal earthquake that happens when you, the giver, the lover, the fighter, finally choose to save yourself. This is the truth of what they feel inside when your shadow is no longer there to block their sun. For their entire existence, the avoidant individual has built a fortress on a single, foundational lie: the illusion of control. They believe, with every fiber of their being, that by keeping you at arm's length, by dictating the terms of intimacy, by being the one who is less invested, they are the architects of their own emotional safety. This isn't just a preference, it's a survival strategy forged in the fires of past hurt, disappointment, or trauma. Their entire modus operandi is predicated on a simple equation: distance to safety, closeness to danger. You were the variable in that equation they believed they could manage. Your love was a tide they thought they could command to ebb and flow according to their comfort. Your presence was a weather system they could predict. They held the remote control to the relationship, or so they thought, confidently changing the channel whenever the program became too real, too intimate, too demanding of their hidden, fragile self. They believed your commitment was the constant, and their ambivalence was the variable they could adjust to maintain equilibrium. But the moment you walk away, not as a manipulative tactic, not as a protest behavior to get them to come closer, but as a final, resolute, and genuine act of self-preservation, you do not just leave a relationship, you detonate a bomb at the very foundation of their psychological fortress. The illusion of control doesn't just crack, it vaporizes. The remote control they were clutching so tightly is suddenly revealed to be a useless plastic toy. The tide they thought they commanded has now receded permanently, revealing the barren, empty shoreline of their own making. The equation they lived by is proven catastrophically false. The shock of this is not merely emotional, it is existential. It is a system-wide failure of their core operating system. They are suddenly faced with the terrifying reality that they were never in control. They were merely being tolerated. They mistook your endurance for their own power. And now, with you gone, the power dynamic doesn't just shift, it inverts completely. They are left alone in the echoing hall of their own fortress, and the silence is no longer peaceful, it is accusing. The walls they built to keep danger out now become the bars of their own prison, and for the first time, they realize they are the inmate and the jailer. The feeling is one of vertigo, a dizzying, nauseating disorientation where the map they used to navigate the world has been ripped to shreds. They are forced to confront the horrifying question: if I was never in control, then what have I been doing? And who have I become? This shattering is the necessary first tremor, the precursor to everything else that follows, a psychological rug pull that leaves them stumbling in the dark of their own creation. Before you left, loss was an abstract concept, a theoretical possibility they could always outrun by creating more distance. It was a ghost they could keep at bay by ensuring you were always the one more afraid of the dark. But your final departure makes loss real, tangible, and terrifyingly irreversible. This is not the quiet sadness of a missed opportunity. This is the full-blown, five-alarm panic of a safe door closing and locking forever. While you were present, their brain could soothe itself with narratives of, "I can always go back," or "they'll always be there if I change my mind." You were their emotional safety net, and the knowledge of your presence, however strained, gave them the courage to walk the high wire of their own emotional unavailability. You were the plan B for their entire emotional life. Now that net is gone. The maybe someday has crystallized into the never again. The panic that erupts is primal. It's the panic of a child who has wandered away in a supermarket, who turns around expecting to see a familiar face and finds only strangers. It's a fight or flight response with nowhere to run and no one to fight because the opponent is their own catastrophic miscalculation. This panic is far more intense than any anxiety they felt when you were close. Your closeness asked them to be vulnerable. Your permanent absence demands that they confront a void. They will be hit with a wave of what-ifs more powerful than anything they ever entertained before. What if they were the one? What if I threw away the best thing I ever had? What if I am doomed to be alone forever because I am incapable of holding on to love? This panic is often the first time they are forced to look at you not as a source of demand, but as a source of value that has been irrevocably lost. They may even try to hoover you back not out of genuine, healed love, but out of this sheer, unadulterated terror of the vacuum you left behind. It's the desperate clawing at a lifeboat that has already sailed. This panic is the universe's brutal way of forcing them to account for the real cost of something, a cost they only understand once the bill comes due in the currency of your permanent absence. Regret for an avoidant is not a gentle melancholy, it is a leaden cloak that wraps around their spirit, suffocating and heavy. For so long, they were able to outpace it by focusing on your flaws, on the minor irritations, on the ways you smothered them or asked for too much. They curated a mental list of your imperfections to justify their emotional stinginess. It was a defense mechanism that allowed them to feel righteous in their withdrawal. But when you walk away, that list evaporates. The magnifying glass they used to examine your flaws swings violently back onto themselves. The narrative flips. Suddenly, it's not your neediness they remember, but your patience. It's not your demands they recall, but your generosity. It's not the times you asked for a crumb of affection that haunt them, but the countless feasts of love you laid before them that they refused to eat. This regret is excruciating because it is self-inflicted. They are not the victim of a cruel world or a bad partner. They are the architect of their own emptiness. The memories that now flood their mind are no longer the arguments, but the quiet moments they cut short, the loving words they dismissed, the hands they let go of, the love they took for granted, every deactivating strategy they used. Every cold shoulder, every canceled plan now plays back on a loop in high definition, not as justified actions, but as monumental failures of courage. The weight of this regret is compounded by the finality of your exit. There is no, "I'll do better next time" with you. That chance is gone. The opportunity to have been the person you deserved has passed, and the realization that they chose, actively and repeatedly, to be less than that is a bitter pill that chokes them. This regret is the beginning of their true education and loss, but it comes too late to save what they had. It is the profit of their emotional bankruptcy, paid out in the worthless currency of AIF only. The avoidance ego is a carefully constructed citadel, built to project an image of independence, self-sufficiency, and invulnerability. "I don't need anyone" is not just a statement, it's a mantra, a shield, an identity. Their entire sense of self-worth is often tied to this illusion of not needing, not depending, not being affected. You, in your persistent love and presence, were a living, breathing challenge to this citadel. But as long as you were there, they could still tell themselves the story that they were the strong one, the one who could take it or leave it. Your departure takes a wrecking ball to that entire structure. The story collapses. The narrative of their own independence is exposed as a fraud. Why? Because if they were truly so independent and self-sufficient, your absence would be a minor inconvenience, a blip. But it's not. It's a cataclysm. The intense pain, the panic, the regret, all of it proves the opposite of what their ego claimed. It proves they needed you. It proves they are affected. It proves they are vulnerable. This is a devastating blow to their self-image. They are forced to see that their strength was actually a profound weakness, a fear of true connection. Their invulnerability was a defense against a world they were too scared to feel. The ego, faced with this contradictory evidence, doesn't just get bruised. It experiences a system crash. The person they thought they were, the island, the fortress, the lone wolf, is revealed to be a myth. They are left standing in the rubble of their own self-concept, naked and exposed, with no identity to cling to. This collapse is terrifying, but it is also the most potent opportunity for genuine growth they may ever face. For the first time, stripped of the ego's defenses, they have a chance to meet their real, raw, human self. The one that is capable of being hurt, the one that needs others, the one that is, in fact, just like everyone else. In your absence, A brutal internal civil war erupts within them. It's a battle between two powerful forces, the ghost and the anchor. The ghost is the voice of their core wound, their deep-seated fear of intimacy, their deactivating strategies. It's the familiar, seductive voice that whispers the old lies. You're better off alone. See, this is why you don't let people in. They were too needy anyway. The ghost tries to resurrect the old narrative, to paint you as the problem, to find new flaws in your character now that you're gone, all in a desperate attempt to re-stabilize the collapsed ego and return to the safety of isolation. But now, there is a new, powerful opponent in the ring, the anchor. The anchor is the memory of your consistent, unwavering love. It's the ghost of your kindness, the echo of your patience, the shadow of the security you offered. The anchor is the living proof that contradicts the ghost's entire worldview. The ghost says, all closeness is suffocating. The anchor whispers, but their love felt like coming home. The ghost says, you can't trust anyone. The anchor replies, but they were trustworthy. This creates an unbearable cognitive dissonance. They are torn between the deep biological, human longing for the secure attachment you represented, the anchor, and the ingrained fear-based programming that screams it's a trap, the ghost. They will vacillate wildly between these two poles, one moment missing you terribly, the next moment concocting reasons to be glad you're gone. This internal tug of war is exhausting and tormenting. It's a psychological torture chamber of their own design. They can't move forward because the anchor pulls them back with regret, and they can't go back because the ghost warns them of the danger. They are stuck in a purgatory of their own conflicting emotions, and it is in this space that they are truly forced to confront the root of their avoidance for the first time. For the entire relationship, the avoidant individual was holding a mirror up to you. They were reflecting what they perceived as your neediness, your demands, your intensity. Your presence was a screen onto which they could project their own fears. But when you vanish, that mirror swings around, and they are forced, for the first time, to look directly at themselves. Your absence becomes the truest mirror of all. It doesn't show them what they want to see. It shows them the unvarnished truth. In the empty space where you once were, they see the stark reality of their own behavior. They see the one-sidedness. They see the emotional unavailability. They see the person who received love but was incapable of reciprocating it in a healthy, sustained way. They are confronted with the image of themselves as the one who caused pain, as the one who was unable to show up, as the one who abandoned the relationship long before you physically walked away. This is a horrifying and humbling experience. There is no one else to blame. The excuses they used, I'm just independent, I need space, they're too sensitive, ring hollow in the deafening silence. The reflection shows them the cost of their actions, not in theoretical terms, but in the very real, very permanent loss of a loving partner. This mirror doesn't lie, and it doesn't let them look away. It forces them to ask the questions they've spent a lifetime avoiding. Am I the toxic one? What is wrong with me that I push away good people? Why am I so afraid of love? This moment of brutal self-awareness is the absolute cornerstone of any potential future growth. It is painful, shameful, and devastating, but it is also the first, fragile step toward genuine self-confrontation and the possibility of change. While you were in the relationship, the avoidant was haunted by the fear of what could be. The fear of engulfment, the fear of losing themselves, the fear of future pain. But once you're gone, a new, far more painful haunting begins. They are tormented by the mirage of what could have been. This is not a memory, it's a phantom limb of a future that died before it was born. Their mind, now free from the daily friction of the relationship, begins to idealize it. It starts to paint a picture of a perfect, peaceful, loving future that was always within reach, if only they had chosen it. They imagine coming home to you. They imagine the vacations you could have taken. They imagine growing old together. They imagine a version of themselves that was capable of receiving and giving love freely, happily existing in this parallel universe with you. This mirage is cruel because it feels so real and so attainable, yet it is forever out of reach. It's a paradise lost that they now realize they were the ones who set on fire. The pain of this is unique because it's the pain of a dream they themselves killed. They are haunted not by what you did, but by what they didn't do. This mirage is often more powerful and more attractive than the reality of the relationship ever was. because it's been stripped of all its complications and polished to a high shine by regret and loss. It becomes the benchmark against which all future potential partners will be measured, and it is an impossible standard because it exists only in the realm of imagination and remorse. They are left chasing a ghost of a future that their own actions made impossible. This is the final and most critical stage of their internal reckoning. After the panic, the regret, the ego collapse, the internal war, and the haunting mirage, there is nowhere left to hide. They must finally, in the quiet of their own soul, make a self-confession. They have to admit the truth to themselves. This is not an apology to you, though that may or may not come. This is a raw, unfiltered admission in the court of their own consciousness. It is the moment they drop the defenses and utter the core truths they have been running from their entire lives. They must confess, I was afraid. They must confess, I was the problem. They must confess, I pushed away a good person because I was terrified of being loved. They must confess, my independence was a prison, not a strength. This self-confession is the rock bottom of their avoidant journey. It is agonizing. It feels like a death, and in a way, it is. It's the death of the false self, the defended self, the avoidant self. But from this death, the possibility of a new life can emerge. This moment of utter self-honesty is the seed of true transformation. It is the point where they stop being a victim of their past and can begin, for the first time, to take radical responsibility for their future. Whether they choose to water that seed or let it wither is now their cross to bear. But this confession is the undeniable, unavoidable culmination of the internal storm that your brave final walkaway set in motion. In the end, this is not a story of vengeance. This is not about schadenfreude or taking pleasure in another's pain. This revelation is about your liberation. It is about you understanding that your choice to walk away was not a defeat. It was a detonation that reverberated deep into the soul of the person who thought they could live without connection. Your absence became the greatest teacher they ever had, forcing upon them lessons their own fears had prevented them from learning. You need to know that your love was not in vain. The energy you poured into that relationship did not disappear into a void. It became a ghost that now haunts the halls of their awareness. A constant reminder of what they sacrificed on the altar of their own fear. The patience you showed, the kindness you offered, the love you fought to give, all of it becomes evidence in the trial they now hold against themselves. This knowledge is meant to set you free from the question of, did they ever care? They are now living in the answer, and the answer is a resounding, painful, and transformative yes. The chaos they feel inside is the direct and proportional response to the value of what they lost. Their internal earthquake is the proof of your worth. So let this be the chapter where you close the book on their confusion and begin writing the story of your own certainty. Your walking away was the most powerful statement you could ever make. It was you declaring to yourself and to the universe that you will no longer stand in the shadow of someone else's fear. You turned your back on a closed door and walked toward your own sunrise. The pain they feel inside is their journey, your freedom, your healing, your radiant future that is now yours to claim. Do not look back. The storm you left behind is theirs to weather. Your sky is finally clearing. Thank you for having the courage to listen to this truth. Thank you for every time you loved, for every time you fought, and for the ultimate bravery you showed in choosing yourself. You are not just a survivor, you are a phoenix. Now go and claim the life and the love that you deserve. Goodbye, and may your journey forward be filled with the light you so freely gave to others.